Yesterday we saw how we create and manage resources through Azure CLI commands using Cloud Shell. And in the Cloud Shell, we will be using Bash for creating Azure CLI commands, creating and managing resources using Azure CLI commands. Before that, we saw how we create and manage resources through PowerShell commands and also PowerShell script, right? So uh, today we'll see how to uh, create and manage resources using ARM template. Now, what is ARM template? So if I talk about ARM template, then there is a service called Azure Resource Manager. Azure Resource Manager. Now, what happens that this Azure Resource Manager is a kind of API which is responsible for doing everything in Azure. So whatever the you can say whatever the request come are all handled by Azure Resource Manager. Okay, all requests are handled by Azure Resource Manager. So whatever things we do in portal also, if we go in portal, if we create anything, if we manage anything, we create any resource, or if there is any resource, say I have a basic VM or I have a disk, right? This is my disk. So whatever, anything, any function, any setting, any configuration I have to do, so Azure Resource Manager is responsible for that. Okay, if I want to create a lock, I can add lock, everything. So in the background Azure Resource Manager is the one who is working in the background. Okay, now we can use some you can say some uh, I can say scripting, not scripting, because this is not scripting. uh, this is by writing few lines or few lines of codes in a JSON format. Okay, in a JSON format. So there, this Azure Resource Manager provides us a I'll say a tool or a platform through which we can manage the resources. We can create and manage the resources. Like we have seen other tools through which we are managing, like Cloud Shell. So first tool is Portal itself, Azure Portal. Then the other tool is Cloud Shell, Azure Cloud Shell. Then third is Windows PowerShell, PowerShell. Okay, and then Azure CLI, Azure CLI, right? So these are the tools through which we are managing the services in Azure. Similarly, this Azure Resource Manager also provides one tool or a platform to manage the services, that through which we can manage the services. Okay, and that is an ARM Azure Resource Manager templates. Okay, now these templates are nothing but, so say this is an Azure Resource Manager template, and this template is this template is in JSON format. JSON. Okay, so it's in a JSON format. JSON means the whatever the script is written here is in JSON format, or and the file name will be .json. So if you are deploying some resource, maybe you can name this file as deploy.json, right? This template file you can name as deploy.json, and you can deploy. The benefit of ARM template is that you can implement or create multiple resources at a single period of time. Multiple resources means different resources, and that too in multiple numbers. You can create using this ARM template. Means what you can do, you can continuously deploy using this ARM template. So you can create, I'll say, you can create an infrastructure. Infrastructure. You can create an infrastructure using some code. Using some code. Now, you can create an infrastructure using some code. That's why this is called IaaC. Now, when anyone talks about infrastructure as a code, what is the example of infrastructure as a code? Okay, IaaC. I can, no worries, I can write here also. Infrastructure as a code means you are defining a whole infrastructure in the form of code. And what is that code? It's in the JSON format. Okay, it's in the JSON format. What JSON stands for? I told you, I think last time when we discussed this ARM templates and Azure fundamentals. So what is JSON?
Java or
JavaScript. JavaScript. Object notation. Okay, object notation. JavaScript object notation. This is JSON, and the file is in .json format. .json format. Now we call it is infrastructure as a code because we can define whole infrastructure in this file. Now for any kind of, you can say, if you have some application to deploy, then application may need, what is the need of the application? There may be some VM there, then storage is there, storage, then you can say some database may be there, some network may be there. So there are different things which can be. Now you have to implement all this at one go, all this and one go. What you can use? You can use IaaC, infrastructure as a code. And what is the example? ARM template. Now when I talk about ARM template, so there are three things. There are three things in the ARM template. So parameters, parameter. Now there is a parameter file. There is a parameter file. Then there is a resource. What are the resources you are creating? This is all inside JSON only. This is all inside JSON only. Okay. Parameter is there, resource is there. Then uh, just a second. So parameter is there, resource is there. Then there must be some properties. There must be some properties. And including all these things, a template is created. Template. Including all these things, a template is created. And that template is called a JSON template. Okay. Now, if I show what is a JSON template to you, so I'll show for any resource so that you can get how it is created. Okay. So if I go to this disk, and I want to see JSON view, if I do a JSON view, okay, now whatever it is created with whatever properties, it is showing here in the JSON format. It is showing here in the JSON format. Now name is there, means these are properties. Okay, name is there, ID is there, type, what type is Microsoft.compute disk, location, tags. Okay, these are parameters. Then properties are there. In the properties section, you will get these all items like creation option, creation data, creation option. So in the creation data, there's create option. Then inside the properties, there's like what is the disk size. Means if you are creating any service or any object, then definitely the configuration of that object will come under properties, right? Like we created a disk, we defined the disk config there when we are creating through PowerShell or Azure CLI. So we defined the configuration of the disk, and here in the file, that configuration is nothing, just the properties of that service, right? So creation data, disk size, disk read write option, all these things, network policy, these things come under properties. Okay, so this is a JSON. Like this, we write the JSON format. We define the properties. Okay, we define the resource. What are the resources, properties, and parameters. Now, if I tell you about what is ARM template, basically, this is just was the JSON view of this disk. Okay, so if I talk about ARM template, then there is an option in the automation side. Okay, see. So this is a template. This is a whole template. Okay. Now, what is the template is for? It's for a disk. It's for a disk. Now, there are parameters. I told you there are parameters. In the parameters, we are creating the disk. So it will contain the parameters for a disk. Okay. Then variables. As of now, there are no variables defined here. Okay. Then resources. So we are creating only one resource, and that resource, that parameter, it is taking from the parameters. Now, if you see this here, there is this schema. Now, what is schema? So I'll say every service which is there is having a defined schema, and that schema is within the libraries. So this Azure portal is developed by Azure. Okay, they must be having some source code there at the backend side. So when we call anything, or when we create anything, definitely that must be having some schema. Without schema means nothing but a defined template. So, or I'll say schema is a blank template. Okay, schema is a blank template. Blank. Now, if you go to any website and register yourself, they provide you some template, some form, okay, and then you fill that form. Okay, so that blank form is a template. Okay, you write your name here, you write your address here, you write everything, whatever the details, your age, your phone number, your email ID. So they provide you blank template. That is called a form. Okay, that is called a form, and you fill that form. In that particular template. Similarly, this schema is a blank template. means this schema defines the infrastructure inside it. This schema form or schema template, this defines the infrastructure, defines the infra of that resource, okay, or whatever the number of resource you are creating. So this schema or blank template will define the infrastructure. So this is by default created, this blank template is by default created by Azure. And how we can access that template? How we can access that template? We can access through this HTTPS schema management Azure. Okay, we can access this through this. Now here in this file, a reference has been taken. A reference has been taken from this template. So we have to create a disk using ARM template. And for that purpose, we have taken this variable, schema variable. And this schema variable is referring which this template, which is provided by Azure. So this link, everything is provided by Azure. So at the start of the file, we are referring this schema to create a disk. So this schema is for, or deployment template is for disk. Okay. So we are referring this schema. Now content version and all, these are like totally that provided by Azure, like the upgrade. So as of now, the content version is 1.0.0, it is saying, okay. If they upgrade something, then it may be 1.2 or 2.0 or 3.0, something like that. So whenever new upgrades come, so definitely you can see this. Okay. Now you must be saying, okay, this is for what I'm, let me show first this, and then I'll let you know how we can do that. Okay. So this is parameter. Now parameters are defined. Parameters for disk. Okay. So disk AZ104018 disk 01 underscore name. Then default value means the name of that disk. What is the value given for that disk? It was AZ104018 and disk 01. That was the name of that disk. Okay. And here it is, see, it is saying name of the disk. Like what we do in I can say whenever we created the resource using PowerShell, so we wrote like AZ, or I can say new hyphen AZ disk. This was the command. This was the command in PowerShell. Okay. Now we are defining the parameters with the PowerShell. So how we define? Hyphen resource group name, right? This is a parameter. And once I type the parameter, after that, I'll give the name of that parameter. So I defined the name of the resource group in some variable, right? What variable was that? $RG or RG name, right? So before this, we already defined that RG name here in the variable in PowerShell, $RG name. What was that RG name? So that name was AZ104 -01A and -RG01. This was the resource group name, which I have given to this variable. And then when I was creating the disk, so new AZ disk -resource group name, because I want to create this disk into this resource group. That's why -resource group name. So this -resource group name is defining the parameter. What parameter? Resource group name. And then after this, I'll give this name. Okay. Similarly, here in the ARM template, what happens? In the parameters, first we define this disk name. So we define in JSON format like this, disk underscore the name and underscore name. And then we give the value. So it's like a key pair. It's like a key value, means you have given something and you have given a value to that. So you define the parameter here and then you have given the value for that parameter. What is that value? The name of the disk. Okay. And what type it is. Now you are writing in a language or in a code. You are defining as infrastructure as a code. Okay. So in that thing, what you need to define the type of that value. Means, what is the type of that value? It's a string, because we are defining that in quotes. Yes, there are integers in between 104, but when we define anything inside the quotes, it becomes a string as a whole. It becomes as a string as a whole. If I don't put the quotes here, double inverted commas here, what will happen? It will not take this name. So it will say, okay, object unidentified. Unidentified means it will not be able to identify this, because there are strings also, characters also. In the string there are characters also, integers also, everything is there. Okay, so that's why it is taken in quotes and it is written type as string. So it is taking this whole thing as a string. Okay, that's why here type is written as string. Now coming to variables. Okay, now here are no variables with this. So variable section is blank. See, it's a blank, but yeah, we have given this quotes here because in JSON format, if you write anything, you should have given quotes. See, in the parameter section also, a bracket is opened here and a bracket is closed. Okay, a bracket is opened here and then a bracket is closed, and then the main bracket is also closed here, then comma, then we are defining variables. In the variable section, this is blank, means there is no variable definition here, no variable is defined. Then we come to resources. So see, how is the format going? Parameters, variable, resources, variable, resources. Then we come to resources. Okay, now here a big bracket is open, the main bracket, and there are number of resources to be defined and properties inside the resources. So a big bracket, then a this curly bracket, and then type of this type. What is the API version? Now I told you that it is calling APIs, right? So it has given you the API version here. So this is the API version 2023 1 and then 2. Okay, 2nd January 2023. This is like uh, YYYDD, not DD, MM, and then DD. That format is there. Okay. So name is taken from the parameter section. So it is written here parameters, and it is not calling the name directly. What it is calling? It is calling this. It is calling the variable in which that value is defined. Okay. Similarly, what we do here, we don't call directly the name, we call that variable where the name is kept. Okay, so variable is nothing but it's a uh, I'll say uh, unit of memory. I have used this variable memory to store this name. So variable is nothing but a unit of memory. Okay, now parameter, and it is calling this variable. Okay, or parameter definition it is calling. Then location is Central India. SKU means the architecture of that SKU means premium LRS. It is premium LRS. Okay. So there are like standard LRS. LRS means locally redundant storage. Okay. I told you all that locally redundant storage, then geo redundant storage, zone redundant storage. So it is premium LRS. Tier is premium, not standard. Okay. I told you about standard and premium, how they are differ. Okay. Then comes the properties. Now in the properties section, now here we defined everything about the resource, the name of the resource, the type of the resource, the location of the resource, the name of the resource. Now comes the properties. Properties means like I say, okay, Jitendra is there or Rajiv is there or Priyanka is there. Now name of all these guys, and then uh, place of all these guys, then address of all these guys. Similar kind of thing in the resources we defined. Now properties. Properties means what is the height of these guys, what is the color of these guys. Okay, all these things will come in properties. Okay, so these are the properties which you contain, like a height and you can say uh, color. So when you fill some forms and they ask about your properties means if so they want to identify how a person is identified. Okay, there is a mole on my right hand, there is a mole on my left hand or left shoulder or anywhere. So these are properties through which a person is defined, right? So these are the properties through which this disk is defined. Okay, so disk size is 64 GB. Then IOPS, input output read write capacity of the disk is 240. Okay, input output per second. Okay, so 240 inputs can be taken per second and 240 outputs can be given per second. That's why IOPS speed. Okay, disk MBPS read write 50 Mbps. Okay, per second, 50 Mbps per second. In Mbps means per second. Okay, now encryption. So encryption at rest with platform key. Now it is a platform managed key. It is a platform managed key. We are not managing the key. So type of encryption is encryption at rest with platform key. Network access policy allow all. Public network access is enabled. Disk state is unattached. Why it is unattached? Because we have not attached this disk to any system. Please be in mute. So network access policies allow all means everyone is allowed and able to access this disk. Then public network access is enabled. Okay, definitely network access policies allow all. That's why public network access is enabled. Then disk state is unattached. Unattached means it is not attached to any VM. Okay, so this disk is unattached as of now. And tier of this disk is P6. There are different tiers which are defined. So 64 GB disk size comes under tier P6. Okay, so this is a template here. See, if you want to see parameter section, then this is a small parameters what is defined, that is a disk. If there are some different things or different resources, then after this again there will be a comma, again there will be a comma, and again there will be a bracket, and we will define other, like, so after disk, say I want to create any other thing, so I'll write here, okay, I want to create this, so I'll write the parameter name of that resource, and then I'll write the value. Okay, I'll write the value. So this parameter section is giving you this template how to define a parameter. See, in this template they have written the value also, but here they have written no value. Okay, so you can write the value in the parameter section here. Okay, now script is nothing like we did with PowerShell. Okay, so you can use Azure PowerShell to manage Azure resources with Azure Resource Manager. So we have seen this with PowerShell also, we have seen this with Azure CLI also. Okay, so template means it comes under automation. So how you can automate your resources, how you can automate your infrastructure. That's why this is export template section. And this template, what you can do, you can download this template. You can download this template. So when you go and download this template, export template 01A. Okay, so here, so it will be exported as a compressed folder. Okay, save. Okay, I saved this. Now let's see what is there. So if I go here, this is the exported template. I'll extract this, extract all. Okay, I'll extract this. Okay, now see, there are two files. Now when you download a template, there will be two files. What files are these? Parameters.json and template.json. Okay, now if you see each file, if you see each file, don't have a notepad plus plus, otherwise let's open the WordPad again. Now see, this schema value, this is a template file. Okay, this is a template file, then variables, then resources. Whatever template file we saw there, we have downloaded this template. We have downloaded this template. Okay, and this is parameters. We will see parameters also. Open with WordPad. See the same file which we have saw that. So it has given me the parameters file as well as the JSON file. Now what you can do here, if you whatever the resources you want to create, you can define. You can define, and then you can keep the template with you. And when you want, you can deploy this template. Now, how we deploy this template? That is our lab in our lab 3. Okay, how to create and manage resources using ARM templates. Okay, now if I ask how we can deploy this, so there's a custom deployment. Custom deployment. See, template deployment is there. Deploy using custom templates. Okay, so I'll open this. Now see, there are common templates given. Create a Linux virtual machine template, create a Windows virtual machine template, create a web app template, create a SQL database template. You can use all these templates. You can use all these templates. Okay, but as we have downloaded, so we can go with build your own template in the editor. So I'll click this. Okay, I'll click this. Now see, this is a file given. Now by default, they have provided me the schema. By default, they have provided me the schema variable. So they are referring this schema and they are giving it the value of that schema to this dollar schema. So it will use this variable. Then content version also they have given. I don't have to worry. So if you worry like if I create a JSON file, how will I decide the content version? How will I decide the schema? What is the schema? So you don't have to worry. Just go here and just download this. Download this. And whatever you want to create, just define in parameters and resources. That's it. Just defining. So when you start writing a ARM template, you can define here in the parameters what is the parameter and what is the value of that parameter. Means name, what are you creating, and then the resources. So in the resources, you will define what is the resource, where it is created, then what is the SKU of that resource, and then the parameters, right? Then the parameters. In the parameters, you will define every other things. Okay. So parameters and resources. So this is a blank JSON template, I will say. Okay, blank JSON template where there is a schema, there is a content version which is given provided by Azure, and you have to work on parameters and resources. That's it. Now here what I'll do, I already have a file, so I'll load that file here. Okay, then you see what happens. Okay, then you see what happens. Exported here, I think, in this template.json. If I open, see, the template is loaded here. The template is loaded here, and I can save this. I can save this. Now I can edit parameters, and I can also load parameter file there. Parameter. Save. Now the template is there, parameter is there. Now what I want to do now, disk 1 is already created. Disk 1 is already created. I want to create another disk because I cannot create the resources with the same name, right? Let create, I can change here. So portal provides me to change the parameters here only. Okay. I can edit the parameters here in the edit template also, right? But if they have given this, I can edit it here. So disk number 2 I will create, and resource group name. So see, this 01A RG01 is already created, right? Existing it is. So I need to create some new if I don't want to create inside that. So I'll create new. So AZ104 hyphen 01A hyphen RG02. Okay. So a new resource group will be created, and that is also defined in the template now. Now I can do next. Okay. So validation is passed and I can create the resource using this template. Our deployment is in progress in this. So if you have some template and you want to deploy, you can directly come to custom deployment, search for custom deployment from portal, and you can create. There is also an option creating it from PowerShell. Okay. There's also an option creating it from PowerShell. Go to the resource. See, resource is created. We go here. See the resource group. See, second resource group is created. And inside that disk 2 is created using ARM template. Using ARM template. Okay. Now, if you go and see here, see a new file will be generating here. Okay. And this is with disk 2 name. Earlier it was disk 01 from which we created this disk 2. Okay. So in this way, you can create. In this way, you can create using ARM templates. This is infrastructure as a code. So you are writing your infrastructure as a code to make it easy to create a number of resources. To make it easy to create a number of resources. Okay. Now, if you have something, so there are some more options. If I click on this visualize template. So see, in the visualization diagram, this is a diagram. Okay. Here we have created only disk. That's why it is showing you a disk. That's why it is showing you a disk. Now, if you have created some multiple, I can say resources, then it will give you all the resources and it will give you a diagram. It will give you a diagram. So if you click on visualize diagram, it will create, it will show you the diagram. What is the hierarchy after this, where it is going, what is created after this, what is created after this, that everything it will show in this diagram here. So that you can visualize this creation diagrammatically. Okay, this request is coming, then this is being created, then this request is going here, then after this resource is created. So in this way a diagram will be given. Okay, so you can visualize the template using the diagram. Okay, add to library. Now there is an option to add to library. Now Azure provides a library. Why Azure provides a library? Because if you don't want to download and keep it somewhere with you local, you can keep this template in the library. You can keep this template in the library, and whenever you want to do a custom deployment using ARM template, just go to the custom deployment section and upload file from the library. So this library is a kind of storage which is provided by Azure. You can go and add this template to the library. Okay, see here. Okay, you can edit and you can store, you can create, and you can save in the library. Okay, edit template. This is the template. So this is about ARM template. Now I told you that there is a possibility to deploy this through script also, through script also. So if I, sorry, through PowerShell also. Okay. Now, as we are using these all things like AZDisk to create disk, so similarly, there will be a command new AZ template deployment, or you can say new AZ resource group deployment, new. So whatever you deploy, so you are deploying an ARM template, you can use this command. Also, there is a option if you are deploying anything in some resource group. So I'm deploying a disk in resource group. So what I'll write, new AZ resource group deployment means I'm deploying something in this resource group. Similarly, you can have new -AZ subscription deployment. I'm deploying anything within that subscription. So definitely you have to mention after this which subscription. You have to mention after this which resource group. Subscription deployment. Okay. Deployment like this. And you will like you will manage subscription name. Subscription name. Right. And then the name of the subscription, dollar subscription name, whatever you have defined in the variable. Okay, dollar subscription name. And then what? Then what? Template file. Template file. So from where you have taken the template file? From your local, or where you have taken the template file? So if I go here, my template file is in this location. My template file is in this location. Okay. So this, but this thing depends. If I'm running from local PowerShell, then I can give this path. But if I'm running this from Cloud Shell, what I have to do? I have to upload these template files here in the Cloud Shell, because Cloud Shell does not know. Cloud Shell does not know that I have a local location here, C drive, the downloads. Cloud Shell will not know this. Who will know this? Only my local PowerShell, this local PowerShell window. Because this local PowerShell or Windows PowerShell is installed here only. So it will detect this location. It will detect this location and take the template from here. But if I'm using this Cloud Shell, then definitely I have to upload the template file here. You need to upload template file. Both of these template file you have to upload. Okay. Upload is complete. If I do an ls, then you can see my template parameters.json and this. Where is the other file? Microsoft parameters.json. Okay. And I think one file at a time you can upload. Template.json. Okay. Now template is also uploaded. If I do an ls, see parameters.json, template.json. Now you can write the command and you can call. So if I put new hyphen az, what I can say, template deployment, hyphen resource group, or let's see this here. What are the parameters given?
So
New hyphen az template or resource group deployment maybe. New az deployment. See, this is also given here. This is also given here. Okay. So new az deployment, not template deployment, new az deployment. Now here, these are the parameters you can give. Name, okay. Then tag if you want to give some tags, okay. Then template file, hyphen template file. So you can give the template file here. So if I directly go down, see, everything is given. It's not someone will say, okay, you don't remember. It doesn't worry because everything is given. Microsoft has given you each and every document. Just go and search for these things. Okay, what are the parameters given on which I can deploy a template? You can refer from here. That's why this documentation is given. No one can remember all these things, right? No one can remember. Okay, so you can refer from here, refer from the documents. So new az deployment. Then you can give the template ID or template file. So see these many, with new az deployment, these many properties you can use. Okay. If I go down for some example here, description, see, new az deployment, where you want to deploy, location West US. What is the template file name? Template file name is this. Then template parameter file is this. If you want to give some tags, you can give some tags. Okay. Now here the file is in D drive. It is saying it is in D drive. Okay. If I copy this, and show you here. Remove this tags as of now. We are not giving tags. Okay. So this is my file. There is other thing also. If my file is at some location, some remote location over the internet, my file is in GitHub. So this I can use template URI parameter. Here I am using template file parameter. Here I am using template URI, means where my template is kept, like it is kept in GitHub. So I can give the URL of the GitHub. So what it will do, it will take the file from the GitHub. Okay. So there are two ways. You can keep in local. You can, if you want to deploy from the cloud, from the Cloud Shell, you can keep the files in the Cloud Shell, because Cloud Shell itself is a file share. So it can keep up to 5 GB of data. And while storing the files, that 5 GB of data will not be full as soon. Okay. So you can use that to keep all the files which you want. You can create folders there. You can keep the files. So here we deployed everything in Central India. If I say Central India location and template file. Now in the Cloud Shell, what is the location of the file? See, /home/Abhishek. And inside this, there is a file, parameters.json and template.json, right? So it's like that. inside home, inside, and there is a template.json file. Template.json. There's a parameter file also. It does in the same path. The same path, there is a parameter file also. So here it's like this. And here parameters. Parameters will just see. If I see this, see parameters.json, template.json. Both files are there. Okay. Now, new easy deployment location Central India template file. Now, as of now, this template file contains the data, and we have not edited that file. We have not edited that file, right? Let's see if we can edit. Let's check now. Why write WQ there? Can anyone tell me?
Save and exit.
So someone who knows Linux can tell me.
Save and exit.
Yes, correct. Write and quit. WQ. Someone who uses Linux can tell me. Now, disk has been edited. I have edited this file, template.json. Now, let's see about parameters.json. Parameters.json. So I did this also. So I'll put in, so before editing, you need to put an I. You need to click on I because I means insert mode. So now this file is in insert mode. Okay. Earlier it is in read mode only. Now this is in insert mode. Okay. So I'll write here 3. And then I'll escape, put an escape button. Now again it moved out from the insert mode. And then what I'll do again, WQ enter means my file is saved. I'll see the file cat parameters. See, my file is edited now. Let's see. By running this template, we can create or not. Let's see. We can deploy or not. So parameters.json, this template file location is there. Everything is there. Failed with error. Now what error it is showing? Status message, the resource Microsoft this under resource group null was not found. Okay. So we have not defined the resource group, the new resource group in the file. We have not defined the new resource group in the file. That is, it was not able to find that resource group where it used to deploy. Okay. Name was this, string was this, value was this, everything in the file. But provisioning status failed. Like there, it has given us to it has given us where we have to deploy that. Okay, where we have to deploy that. Now just see this. Okay, this is an RG2 resource group. Okay, RG2. Wait, the files were correct. The files were correct. Hello. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm here. No worries.
Yeah. Actually,
So,
silent.
no. Sorry. I was doing this. Okay. So, actually, in that parameter file, we didn't define the resource group. That's why it is saying, because when we are deploying the template from the portal, it has given us that option. It has given us that option that there were two, three lines given there. So, if I talk about custom deployment here, there's the custom deployment template. Custom, template deployment. See, build your own template. Then if I save, see, so wherever you want to deploy the resource group and other things, it has given to choose, right? Now, in that particular template, we have not defined. That's why it is not taking the parameter, because the parameter is not defined. That's why. Okay. So to define a parameter, you have to give some value, right? So so we can define this here in this file only, because there they have given us UI to define that file here. So the name of the resource group basically. Okay. So if I talk about vi template.json, if I go into an insert mode here, so there is one. hmm, You are not. Mhm. Let me edit here only one. This underscore none. That will be for resource group. So Microsoft Compute Disk. File disk. Just a minute, huh? We'll do this. No worries. And the name is 3, then disk 3 here, then RG3, name is same, string, and then in the resource section, also we have to provide that. Central India, no, there is no need of SKU here. No need of SKU. No, what is the type of the compute? name, I think. There is some error, I think, in this file. I'm not able to get it now. I'm not able to figure it out. Where is the error? Because see, in the parameters type, like description of resources is necessary, but not the resource group. It should take from here only. Like if I give the resource group name here, then it should take because this is a parameter. As we provided the parameter here when we are doing the AZ deployment, we have provided the location as Central India. So it has taken the location, but it should take the resource group name also. So there is some issue, I think, with the file only have to mention something, and I'm not getting where to mention that thing. Okay. So portal deployment, we have seen that how we do it from portal, but yeah, I have to tell you from here also, because that you can deploy it from PowerShell also. So this I'll see today, this file, what is the error. I'll dig that error out, and I'll like tomorrow I'll tell you what is the error. Okay, because like in the class, if I will do this, then it is a waste of time only. Otherwise. So if you understand like how we did it through the portal, then just please try the left from the portal out. Tomorrow I'll see this, like today only I'll see this file. What is the issue? If I found the issue, I'll put in the WhatsApp chat group. Okay, I'll put in the WhatsApp group what is the issue. Just download that file and uh, try to run it from the portal. So let me see this file first, and I'll update you in the group. Okay, what is the issue? I think only this parameters only we have to add, but that parameter name also, like here it is at this. But for resource group we can write resource group, but I have to check that thing. Okay, I have to check that thing. Okay, I'll update you guys in the group.
Abhishek, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Reference is also given there, and we will go according to reference. Hopefully, this is also allowed in the office premises, right? If we are creating anything,
What means?
as this is a Microsoft provided reference.
Okay,
So,
this thing.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely this is allowed. No worries. Everyone does that. Everyone sees the parameter, what parameters we can apply while running the cloud. It's not like that. See, it's not like we are not a student, right? We don't have to like learn all these things and write in the test. It's not like that. This documentation is given for that purpose only. That if whatever your requirement, according to that, you can choose parameters. So with this command, there are these number of parameters which are provided. Okay.
Okay, but as a interview point, what they can ask,
So see,
they
what
will
they
not
can
ask
ask
like as a
is,
go
see,
and take the reference.
when we write a command, okay, when we write a command,
Hmm.
new AZ disk, then there are some of the basic things what you can set. Like I told you, there are three things, like four things: compute, then there is a storage, right? Then there is network, and then there is identity. Okay, identity. Now, if I talk about this AZ disk, so I've given the resource group name here. Then I have given the location here, location. So I've defined the location also, dollar location. So it is taken the location from the location variable. Now, there is one more thing. What? Disk name and disk configuration, right? Okay. So location can be taken from the disk configuration also. So no need to mention this. Instead of this, you can write disk and mention dollar disk config, where you have mentioned the configuration. Okay. Configuration. And there is one more thing, disk name. Okay. So hyphen disk and then name. So here you can give that parameter of disk name. Okay. Now, using these basic parameters, you can create a disk, but there are some advanced parameters also. Okay. So in the advanced parameter, there are 2-3 main parameters. Like you are talking about the prospects of the interview. Now, interviewer can ask those things which are necessary. Like I'll talk about compute, storage, network, and identity. So compute things like where I want to create all that I have defined, resource group name, then this, then this. Now storage and parameters come in disk config. Now we have also seen in the when we are doing with PowerShell that how to define a disk config. Okay, if I talk about disk config, then I can set a variable like disk config, and in the config there are 4-5 parameters, right? So I'll write a command like new hyphen az and new az disk config, right? This is a command for updating the config. And what I can set here, disk size in GB. Okay, and then I'll give the size 32 GB. Similarly, I can set other things also, other parameters also. Now in this new AZ disk, I'm creating the disk and I'm defining the disk config. So he will ask you, okay, you are creating the disk, you are creating a, you are giving the parameter resource group name there, you are defining the resource group name, then the disk name, that is. So he will ask you, what is the disk config? What you can define in disk config? That's it. That is the another major question. That's it. Apart from that, and disk config itself contains 4 or 5 parameters, major parameters, like the disk size. Then what is the other parameter? SKU, right? SKU. Now in the SKU, he can ask you, okay, what are the different types of SKU? You can tell him, okay, there is a standard LRS. Then there is a premium LRS. Then there is a ZRS. Then there is GRS. Okay, so you can tell him that, okay, in the SKU, there are these things which we can define in the parameters. Then he will ask you about some other thing, maybe create option. Okay, so he will ask you maybe like that question, okay, the disk can be how the disk can be created in the, so you can tell all these things in the configuration. Okay, so in the create option you are creating the disk as empty as of now, empty disk. Okay, that's why you can define empty, because whenever you create a new disk, it will be empty only. So you have to give this option. Why? Because when we attach any disk to some VM, virtual machine, so that disk may have some data previously also. The disk may be empty also. So that's why you have to define this in configuration, create option, whether it is an empty disk or whether the disk is not empty. Okay, so as of now, like we created empty disk, so we defined empty option. So these are some configurations which you will define, like disk size, standard, create option. There are 5 things we defined, I think. Like after create option, SKU, disk size. Anyone can tell any other option which we defined in the configuration? Mm, I go in documentation and PowerShell commands. Okay, so see disk config. Location is there, create option is there, disk size is standard is there. Okay, here I come. So after this, location. Location can be taken from dollar location, which you defined earlier. Okay, dollar location. Now, apart from these are the main things to create a disk. You will create a disk. Where you will create a disk? So option is how, where, and why. These are the questions. Okay. So why you want to create a disk? I want to attach it to VM. Okay, why? Because I want a data disk. Okay, you want a data disk for the from the storage option. Now storage account option have 5 things. Storage account option have 5 things. Okay, so Azure Blob storage is there, Azure disk storage is there, temp, then Q storage is there. So we are selecting disk option. Why we are selecting? Because we want to attach this disk to a virtual machine. So that is why you are doing it. Now, where you will be creating this? So I'll creating this in a resource group name. So this is first question arises. Then in which location? Then location you can give in the configuration. Then name you can define. So no one will ask this name because you will definitely you will give the name. Main question arises this configuration thing. So in this configuration thing, apart from these main 5 things, there is one more thing you can do. There is network option, because I told you it's all about compute, storage, network, and identity. Okay, compute, storage, network, and identity. So what will be this? What is this network option? Allow,
IP address and
no, allow public, know that parameter, right? See, what is that? See, network access policy, allow all, public network access enabled. So you can set these things here. Network access policy, network access policy, right? You can set it as allow. Okay, allow. Again, you can set what? Public network access, network access. Now enable or disable, it's up to you. Okay, so you can set all these things, but by default when we not set all these things, it will allow and enable, but you can set to disable it also. You can set to disable this public access also. Okay, so configuration will, whatever the configuration or what will the option they will ask in interview will revolve around these things: compute, storage, network, and identity. These 4 things. Okay, so storage here defined. Okay, disk size is 32 GB. Then about the SKU parameter, this is LRS. Then create option empty. Then location. Then network. If it goes to network, then network access policy, allow or not, and public network access enable or not. So that will come under network. Okay, now in this, if you want to add some user or some identity, okay, then there will be different parameters. So you can give those parameters also here. Okay, so what parameters? Like role based RBAC access. If you want to create and set the roles also, because when you create a disk here, if I created a disk, then there must be some access control here. So I can add a role assignment. Okay, so you can give a role assignment here with this command. You can give a role assignment here. Okay, you can define a role assignment also in this configuration. So role assignment parameter will be there, and for that you can check what is the role assignment parameter with the disk. Okay, so if I write new hyphen az disk config, okay, config, so I can see whatever the things I can define with this, what parameters I can define with this. You can always go and check. See, these many parameters are there. These many parameters are there. Architecture is there, accelerate network, public network access. So very main things are like these things which has been asked: public network access, then network access policy, then so numerous options are given, but no one uses all these options. There are main options which we are using in while creating any application. There are n number of options given, but I said, okay, that's why I say it's up to you, whatever your projects wants. Okay. So if your project wants something from it and you don't know whether this option is present, then you have to come here and see. But whatever the main things are there, are the disk size. Then after that disk size, it's a tier, then the SKU name. Okay. Then tags are also necessary. Okay, because if you work in an organization, tag is necessary. Okay, so tag option is there, create option is there. So SKU name, tier, disk size, tag, create option, and after this, these two things. First is network access policy and allow public network access. The other one, public network access, this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things. These are everyone will ask from here, because even those persons who are sitting in the interview, they don't know all the options. Okay, they don't know all the options. I myself take the interview. I don't remember all these options. What are the main options which I remember is all these things. Okay, so you can definitely refer from these things according to your project requirement. No one will go and ask you each and everything in the interview. That I'm betting you. Okay, no one will ask. The person, they will ask only these main things: SKU, tier, location, disk size. That's it. Network, if important, this network. Okay, they will not ask you about tag also. They'll just ask you about network. They'll not ask you about create option also. Okay, so remember these things, 4 things. On the basis of 4 things, the parameters are set: compute, storage, network, and identity. So whatever service you create from PowerShell with any command, just see what are the important parameters which are needed to create, which are basic parameters which needed to create some service. Those basic parameters will be asked, and not all the parameters, because you also know, I also know that it's not it's not you don't you cannot do that. You cannot learn up all these options. Okay, so don't worry about that. you can always go and refer these things in your organization also. Okay. So whatever work we do, 100% work, okay, 100% work. It's not like that we know each and everything. It's not like that we know. For some purposes, we go, we search some documents, we refer some documents from the internet, we refer documents from our organization. So basically, an organization have all the documents. An organization have all the documents. Our organization is also having a process, okay, and in that process there are some documents which are kept. So if there is some service which is created, then that service must be having some document. So if I'm creating an Azure Kubernetes cluster, then there is a document in my organization for creating an Azure Kubernetes cluster. Because while creating an Azure Kubernetes cluster, document describes what is needed by the organization, with what parameters you create this Kubernetes cluster. That is already defined within the organization. Okay, that's why there will be documents in your organization for doing all this. So you don't have to worry about this. Okay, so it's not up to you that, okay, you think from yourself what you have to decide and not. No, documents are there. Based on those documents, you will create every service. And those documents will define with what basic parameters you need to create that service, which is required by the organization, which is required by the project. Okay, if your project requires that, don't allow public access, never allow public access. So in your organization, it's like that. In my organization, it's also like that. If I create a storage account, we never allow public access. So when we create a storage account, in our script, we keep this parameter. Okay, we keep this parameter, public network access disabled. Means only private access is enabled. So whatever IP you will add, only those IPs can access this storage account or disk. No public access network is, no public network access is allowed. Okay, so these are the parameters you set, and this is according to organization. I'm again telling you, this is according to organization. If organization allows you to keep the public access network access enabled, then you keep it. Otherwise, no. So this depends on each and every organization, what parameters they have to set with any service. You will find the document when you will work, you will find the documentation there. Okay.
Okay. Tomorrow you have any classes?
Yes, tomorrow we will have class, because I'll show you this one, this file. There's an error something today. That's why we didn't create it from PowerShell. Otherwise, I'll check this file, what is the error, and then tomorrow we'll create with PowerShell also. And tomorrow, please, if anyone like if everyone don't have any issue, then please we can join if class for just for 1 hour or 1 hour, so we can finish this one more thing, Azure Active Directory. So we'll learn in the Azure Active Directory how to create users, how to add the users after this lab is finished. Okay, this is also a lab. Okay, so we'll try to finish this lab tomorrow, and we can take 1 hour class, no worries, like 1 hour or 1 hour 10 minutes, 20 minutes, that's it. So if we start at around 8:30, then we can finish it at by 9:30 or 9:45. Okay, is anyone having issue with tomorrow class? No.
No, it should be okay tomorrow.
Okay. Then
Yeah,
we'll
I'm
join
not
tomorrow.
able to join.
Yeah. Pardon?
Yeah, I'm not able to join tomorrow.
Okay. So you can always you have the access to the video recording. You can if like in the whole day, when you get time, you can access the recording, and if you have then some issues, then you can definitely ask me in the next class Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So just stop the recording as of
Azure
now.
fundamental, the PPT can you share? The PPT, if anyone has, please share.
Yes. And just put your email ID in that group.
Okay.
The group you created yesterday. I think Moat created, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, put your email ID in that group.